if you had told the electorate on Mother's Day that a high-profile member of our government would resign within a couple of weeks without a scandal breaking beforehand, I think most people would have guessed it'd be O'Gorman after such embarrassing referendum defeats. Next choice would probably have been McEntee, maybe Donnelly for any number of failures, hell, maybe even Catherine Martin. And maybe, as an outside chance, you might say Leo Varadkar, but that would have been more along the lines of wishful thinking, wouldn't it? Especially considering all that he has brazened out so far. And yet, here we are, Leo Varadkar has announced his resignation as Fine Gael party leader and as Taoiseach. A shock, no matter what way you slice it. So let's get the technical aspects of all of this out of the way first. His resignation as party leader of Fine Gael was immediate. However, he has not yet resigned as Taoiseach, as he was waiting for his successor within Fine Gael to be chosen before making it official. That way, the new leader can be elected as the new Taoiseach by Dáil Éireann when they return from yet more holidays. When Varadkar initially resigns as Taoiseach, all cabinet ministers will also automatically resign as per the constitution. And so, when the new Taoiseach is chosen, a new cabinet will follow. And in case you were wondering, the government do not have to call a general election, again, as per the constitution. As per common decency, there's a very good case to be made, but they, unfortunately, have no obligation to call a general election. In my view, if the party was riding high in the polls, then you'd have to say fair enough, wouldn't you? But they're not riding high in the polls, are they? For all of Sinn Féin's faults, they are still the most popular party right now, while Fine Gael have had some frankly embarrassing polling numbers. I don't think it's a stretch to say that this government is neither popular nor wanted, and so in my view, the decent thing to do would be to call an election to let the people decide. Rotating Taoiseach were bad enough, but then, when has this government ever shown any decency? The new leader of Fine Gael has now been chosen, and it's looking increasingly likely that our new Taoiseach will be Simon Harris of all people.
Oh, for sake.
I say increasingly likely because there is still a chance that Fianna Fáil and the Greens grow a backbone and call time on this charade. Don't laugh, it could happen. Okay, yeah, fat chance. But yeah, Simon Harris, our new Taoiseach. The man who thought there were 18 variants of COVID before COVID-19. The man who promised to ensure that no child is waiting more than 4 months for a scoliosis procedure. The man who threatened nurses who were considering strike action with financial penalties. The man who Varadkar worried couldn't survive a second motion of no confidence as Minister for Health and so called for a general election instead. The man who effectively brought down the last government. Yep, Simon Harris looks all set to assume the throne. And just a point of note here, there are now 11 Fine Gael TDs who will not be contesting the next general election, and yet they get to help choose our new Taoiseach. Yeah, sounds like Ireland alright. And as I've mentioned them, a quick word about Fianna Fáil here before we continue. Fianna Fáil abstained from the first no-confidence motion against Simon Harris back in February 2019. Micheál Martin is on record around that time as saying that Harris has been a very poor minister, with other Fianna Fáil members on record criticising him also. And so, Fianna Fáil find themselves in a precarious situation. If they back Fine Gael and elect Harris as Taoiseach, how can they ever be taken seriously again? How can their own voter base ever trust them again? I mean, I thought it was bad enough that they just plain lied to their own voter base in the run-up to the last election by swearing that they would not go into government with Fine Gael, but backing Simon Harris to be Taoiseach, the man who brought down the last government. How can they be okay with this? Or will the truth be laid bare that it's power at any and all costs? It will be very interesting to see what Fianna Fáil do here, and one way or another, it will be another defining moment for the party. But let's ignore all of that for right now and focus on the man who has set all of this in motion, Leo Varadkar. But before we begin, I want to make a quick point. Several TDs, ex-politicians and Fine Gael supporters have been a little upset at what they see as a lack of respect shown towards Leo Varadkar in the wake of his resignation. They feel that there should be some decorum and graciousness shown as he brings down the curtain on his leadership of our country. Well, to all those people and those who agree with them, this video might not be for you. Because you see, I plan on showing the same respect to Varadkar that he has shown to quite a large portion of our population with his gaslighting, divisive and utterly shameless politics. So yeah, you've been warned. Right, so in his resignation speech, he listed off some of his and his party's successes. And, well, he managed to find far more than I would have found, that's for damn sure. He mentioned going from unemployment to full employment, and yeah, that's true, but ignores the fact that the numbers of working poor is on the rise. He mentioned how we've gone from budget deficit to budget surplus, and again, yeah, that's true, but again, it's not the whole picture, is it? What exactly have we got to show for that budget surplus that's running in the billions? Sweet all, that's what. Where are the services, the houses, the infrastructure, the investment in our future? What are they actually doing with all that money? Sweet all. He also took credit for social change, despite that being the will of the people and not actually driven by politics, and despite the fact that in 2010 he was against both same-sex marriage and abortion. Now obviously people are completely free to change their opinions, and fair enough, he may well have changed his mind on these issues for reasons other than political gain, but again, society drove those changes, not any political party or parties. And you can look at the results of the last referendums for proof of that. Every large party in the country advocating yes, yes, and yet the will of society and the people won out in spite of that political push. Societal change only happens when society wants it. I also find it laughable that he would mention social change when time and again, consistently and without fail, he and his party have put the economy far above society. It is very clear to me that Leo Varadkar and his Fine Gael have the ideology that society should work for the economy and not the other way around, and anyone who is not useful to the economy can be ignored, as evidenced by Fine Gael's track record when it comes to people with disabilities and their carers. Now the rest of the accomplishments he listed out I take serious issue with, and in reality show why Fine Gael and Leo Varadkar are struggling to win over voters, because quite frankly most of what he listed out just makes it crystal clear how utterly out of touch with reality he and his party are. He mentioned how Fine Gael have seen us through the cost of living crisis, the worst of which is now thankfully behind us. If that is honestly what Fine Gael think, then we are well and truly because the cost of living crisis is still very much alive and well for the vast majority of people. Significant steps towards affordable childcare and universal healthcare, he said. Childcare providers shutting down left, right and centre. Oh, but it's heading towards affordability. Grand so. Universal healthcare, universally hated more like, universally not fit for purpose, universally failing patients. I mean, how in God's name could he dare to mention anything to do with healthcare and try to spin it in a good light? We've seen trolley records broken under his watch. We've seen the wait lists for every conceivable treatment grow and grow under his watch. We've seen children abandoned and left to suffer under his watch. We've had healthcare scandals after scandal, and he dares to mention the word healthcare when talking about things he's proud of. That's how out of touch he is. Under his watch, we've seen the homeless numbers skyrocket. We've seen vulture funds take control of our housing market. He even defended them for sake. We have record levels of child homelessness. We have seen houses turned from homes to assets, aided and abetted by his government. House prices are now higher than at the height of the Celtic Tiger. Rents are insane. The number of grown adults still living at home has also skyrocketed. We have the most expensive electricity in the world despite our largest provider being 95% state owned. We have a staffing crisis in teaching, healthcare, the Gardaí and the Defence Forces, among many others. We have a ridiculous and quite frankly criminal overspend on the Children's Hospital. We have billions in surplus yet can't help those children in need of urgent spinal surgeries. We are seeing significant increases in violent crime. We have seen policies, particularly surrounding immigration, hate speech and climate action, that are completely at odds with the will of the electorate. And and so much more, all under Leo Varadkar's watch. He has been Taoiseach for all but 2 years since 2017, and in that time the only people who have benefited were the connected few and the already wealthy. The buck stops with him, and while he can't be blamed for the mistakes and gaffes of individual TDs under his watch, he absolutely can be blamed for his handling of and reaction to those incidents. His support of Robert Troy, Damien English and Niall Collins speaks volumes, and that's without even mentioning his own issues like blaming homeless people for being homeless, or social welfare cheats cheat us all, or rents are much the same everywhere, or Sinn Féin is like politics for slow learners, or St. Patrick was an unvetted male migrant, and on it goes and gets worse. The dodgy donations, the apparent flouting of electoral law, and the most grievous of all, the leaking of confidential documents. So no, I won't be eulogising Leo Varadkar. He won't be remembered fondly by the ordinary people of this country. His legacy will be accurately remembered by those it affected most, and no one will mourn his departure. His brand of politics has caused division and strife. It has caused a massive disconnect between our elected representatives and the people they are supposed to represent. He has decided to just walk away after leading the Irish people into the mess we are currently in, with a big fat pension to insulate him from the problems the rest of us face as a result of his policies. And not only that, but walking away without having the decency or the courage to face the people in an election. Leo Varadkar has told us many times who he really is and how he really thinks. And well, you'll forgive me for being glad to see the back of him. Well, I suppose I'll miss having content for my channel based on the nonsense he comes out with, but fear not, I'm sure Soundbite Simon will fill that role very well at least.
Let's take our flag back! Take it back! Take our flag back! Take it back!
So what did you all think of the shock resignation? How do you feel about Leo Varadkar? Do any of you feel better off than you did when he ascended to power? Or has it all been downhill? How do you think his legacy will be remembered? Was he pushed due to the exodus from Fine Gael? Or is it as simple as he says, that he's just fed up with it all? Or is there a scandal waiting in the wings? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified of new content. If you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee or a super thanks, which is greatly appreciated, and a huge thank you to those of you that already have. You can also follow me on Twitter. Until next time, slán go fóill.